Pandas data frame, selecting rows and columns. In this lesson, we will learn various methods of selection of rows and columns of a data frame. We will mainly focus on selection of rows and columns using square brackets and few important pandas data frame methods such as loc, iloc, and iat. For demonstration purpose, let's first create a data frame df by importing data from a CSV file. And here is the contents of our sample data frame df. Let's check the contents of the file, results6.csv. These are the actual data, and this is the header. During importing the CSV file to our data frame, we have made the ID field as the index. We will use this index for accessing different rows of the data frame. Let's list the column labels of the data frame. We will use these labels for referring to a particular column. Similarly, we may display a list of indexes also. These are the indexes of the data frame. Now we will learn how to display a part of the data frame selectively. Display the name column only. Here, we have used the bracket operators. We may put a single column label or a list of column labels inside the brackets. For a single column, it returns a pandas series. In this example, we are supplying two column labels as a list for returning two selected columns from the data frame. The inner brackets are for the list and the outer brackets are for the selection of the columns as listed. When we supply a list of one or more columns, it returns a data frame. We may assign the returned data frame to a variable as shown here. In our previous examples, we have selected only the columns. Now let's try a few examples of selecting rows based on certain conditions. In this example, the condition for selection of rows is, marks in chemistry must be 90 or more. For two or more condition we may use the and or operators also. The ampersand symbol is used for and the pipe symbol is used for or. Also, the individual conditions should be within parentheses. Here the condition is show the rows where the marks in chemistry is 90 or more and the marks in physics is 85 or more. Double equal sign is used for checking equality. Here the condition is marks is equal to 100. Now we will use another method isin for selecting rows for certain column values. Let's check this example. Here the rows where the values of grade column are either A or A+ will be selected. Here is another example. Another useful pandas data frame method is isna. The isna method selects those rows where the column values for a certain column is nan. The opposite method of isna is notna. That is, select the rows where the column values for a certain column is not nan. Now we will learn how to use the loc and iloc methods for selecting rows and columns of a data frame. These methods are very powerful and convenient ways of selection of data frame and favorites of many. Loc is used for label-based selection and iloc is used for position-based selection, zero-based integer positions. The syntaxes for both are highlighted on the screen using yellow background. Let's do some practical works. Return the details of the row where row index is B23_03. Here we are mentioning only the row label. This will select all the columns. For selecting more than one row label, we may supply a list of row labels to the loc method. We may also use the slice operator to mention a range of row labels as shown here. Here both the start and end labels are inclusive. We may also slice the indexes with step argument. Here the step is 2. That is, every alternate rows within this range will be returned. Now let's use the iloc method for selecting rows. Here, the index 3 returns the fourth row because the indexes are zero-based. Here, too, we may use the slice operator to select a range of row positions. In this case, the end value is exclusive. Here are a few more examples. If you find difficulty in understanding the slicing techniques, please watch the lesson related to string slicing operations. In our previous examples of loc and iloc, we had used only the row labels or row indexes. We did not mention the column labels or column indexes. That's okay, there is no issue. Now we will use both the row and column labels or indexes depending on loc or iloc. In this example, we are selecting the value corresponding to the row label B23_05 and column label chem. For selecting more than one column, we may use a list of column names as shown here. And for selecting more than one row, we may use a list of row labels as shown here. We may also use the loc method as shown here. For the row part we are using the loc method, but for the column part we are using the basic indexing operator square brackets. Now we will use the iloc method for selection based on row and column positions. The concept is similar to the loc method. Here, instead of labels, we are using the zero-based integer positions. Just follow me along. Here iloc 00 returns the value corresponding to the row 0 and column 0, and it is UV. In this example, we are mentioning row 0 and list of columns 0 and 1, so it returns values for column 0 and column 1 for row 0. And here, rows are 0 and 5 and columns are 0 and 1. We may also use the slice operator for selecting a range of rows and a range of columns wherever required. Remember that, in case of slicing, the end value is exclusive, that is, the values for the end index will not be returned. For returning a single value, we may use the at and iat methods also. The at method is label-based and the iat method is index-based. Here are the examples. Here, the at method returns the values for row label b23_01 and column label name. So, it returns UV. Instead of labels, the iat method uses the indexes for returning a single value corresponding to row and column position. Here 0 indicates the row 0 and column 0, so it returns UV. Now we will use the pandas query method for querying the data frame. It is a powerful method that allows us to pass the query as a string. The string is actually a Boolean expression that is evaluated to true or false. The syntax is shown on the screen. If the syntax appears to be complex, don't worry, we will learn to use it with few very simple examples. So, let's begin with our first example. Filtering out the rows where the marks in math is 95 or more. Filtering out the rows where the marks in math is 95 or more and marks in physics is 90 or more. We may also use variables in our query expression. Here is an example. We can use the variable in the query expression by prefixing the variable with the at symbol. Now let's execute a few more queries one by one. Just follow me along. The examples are self-explanatory. Now let's read another CSV file emp.csv. The contents of the file is shown on the screen. Here the file contains two date fields, DOJ and date birth. We want to read these values as dates. The parse_dates argument of read_CSV method does this for us. Let's display the data frame. Now we will query the data frame using the date fields. Return the rows where DOJ is 1st January 2010 or later. Return the rows where date of birth is prior to 1st January 1980. We have enclosed the column date birth with backticks as there is a space between date and birth. If the index is numeric, we may return the rows where the index satisfies some condition as shown here. We may also search for some substring using str.contains method as shown here. The default string search is case sensitive, and so is the results. We may specify whether to consider the case or not using the case argument as shown here.
Suppose we have one CSV file employees.csv and it contains a number of records, and let's see the data inside the first 5 rows, then last 5 rows, and df.save returns that the data frame has 50 rows and 5 columns. Okay, so and what are the rows? df.index, so 0 to 50, and df.columns, these are the columns: employee ID, name, department ID, email, and basic salary, department ID. So let's do one query, and our query is depth ID is equal to 10, and it returns these records. So our data frame has 50 records, and for department 10 these are the records. Suppose we want to keep these records only and remove the other records of other departments. So we can do this by changing the query to in place equal to true. So let's say in place equal to true. It means it will keep the records of this where this condition is true, that is for department 10 only, and other data will be removed. Now let's check the save, and now you see the data frame is only 9 records with 5 columns. Okay, so let's check. So you can see these are the records: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Okay, so other data has been removed due to this clause in place is equal to true. So this is, you should use this judiciously, otherwise you may lose your data. Okay.
That's all for today's lesson. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Happy coding! See you again.